The new 2025 LDV D90 has arrived in Australia, bringing an all-new design, new engines and different specs. Here we're having a quick look at the top spec Executive four-wheel drive version. Thanks to Central Coast Automotive for providing the vehicle for us to test. As you can see, it wears an all-new design, much more square and chunky, modern, with the new look full width tail light at the back. And then the new face of LDV at the front, much bigger grille, more sturdy looking stance, vertical LEDs with also horizontal LEDs across the top, and then headlights separated down the bottom. I think it looks pretty cool, especially in white. It's got that black and white sporty theme to it. It does have black alloy wheels, 18 inches, and they are wearing Gitti tyres. I'm not a huge fan of Gitti, the brand. 265 by 60s with highway terrain tread. The LDV D90 is a heavy duty ladder frame style SUV, like the Toyota Fortuner, Mitsubishi Pajero Sport. So it does have a live axle rear end, but it does have coil springs at the back for comfort. With a kind of part-time four-wheel drive system, rear-wheel drive in the standard setup, and then you can flick it into four-wheel drive using the controls inside. The Executive does get unique driving modes. This little switch down here gives you different terrain modes, which you don't get on the base model. We'll get to the interior in a second, but the other big change is under the bonnet. Now it's a petrol lineup exclusively, so there's no more diesel. It's a upgraded 2-litre turbo-petrol 4-cylinder, now with 184 kilowatts and 410 newton meters from 160 and 350 before. We'll go for a quick drive in a second, and I'll do a 0 to 100 to see what sort of performance it offers. And then inside, yeah, massively overhauled interior layout and even technology. You've got a 12.3-inch touchscreen up there, digital gauge cluster as well, and yeah, completely redesigned dash. You've also got twin wireless phone chargers and a switch from the old T-bar shifter from before to a column-mounted shifter, like the latest LDV products. Plenty of passenger space in here, like look at the headroom, my head's nowhere near the ceiling. And yeah, definitely a perched up driving position so you can see over all the traffic around you. I do like the way it's got this little quarter window there so you can see through that blind spot. The mirror is mounted a little bit further back, so that's good. So it's not completely concealing that whole view with the A-pillar. But yeah, definitely a very high riding position. New touchscreen system. It's pretty easy to use. I like this little button down here. It's got all your apps. And something new for the 2025 model, an integrated dash cam can actually go through. So these are all the videos from the factory when it was being built and assessed. It basically loops around, which I think will come in handy if you're a fleet buyer and you're spending a lot of time on the road. So you've always got a backup of what's been happening during your day. Down below, you've got some climate controls, which is good to see. It would be nice to have all of the climate controls down there. Instead, you've got to go to the little temperature button. It is on the right-hand side, which is quite unique. Usually it's when they convert it from left-hand drive to right-hand drive or whatever, it's usually on the other side there, so it is nice to have it there. But then you've got all your detailed air conditioning settings there, such as your aircon on and off button. You can quickly adjust the temperature down here and the fan speed there. So that is good. You don't have to dive into that little sub-menu. Nice clean graphics though, a bit of color, nothing over the top. And you've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay now as well. And in the back here, you've got plenty of room as well. This seat actually slides on rails, so you can adjust it. It's also got adjustable recline, different settings there. And of course, you can pop the seat forward to access the third row. The third row is one of the most spacious in this class, in my opinion. I'll jump in there and show you in a sec. Climate vents on the ceiling for both of the rear rows and semi-climate control as well. You've also got a number of charging options, including an Australian outlet plug just there. 220 volts, 150 watts. I think one of the best things about the D90 is the room. It really is very spacious in here. My head's nowhere near the ceiling, and look at all of that leg room. So if you are carrying around 7 passengers, you can slide this whole bench forward a little bit, because that's just excessive leg room for my height anyway. I'm 170 centimeters. But if you've got kids or whatever, you can slide that forward a little bit and get 2 kids in the back easily. I'll jump in the back and show you to see if there's any room for adults, if you can call me an adult. Yeah, look at that. My head's nowhere near the ceiling. I think the legroom is the main minor restriction, but as I said, you can slide that forward a little bit and I'll be fine. I do like the way my legs drop down a little bit compared with other SUVs in this class that are riding or sitting on a ladder frame chassis. The advantage of a monocoque is you can sort of maximize the floor room, whereas this, it's a body on a frame, literally. So you can't drop things down any further, but that's actually pretty good for this class. This rear bench actually reclines as well. You just use this strap and you've got a number of different settings. So if you want it a bit more upright because you want to use the boot space in the back as well, you can do that. I do like the softness of the seats, including in the front. They are covered in kind of a pretty cheap leather style of material, but I think it would be reasonably hard wearing. But yeah, the actual cushioning is nice and comfortable. And around at the back here, we've got a decent sized boot. As I said, you can adjust these, the third row. You can actually recline it back even more if you want to. Or fold it down completely flat to maximize the room. You've got a 12-volt socket on the side there, as well as some underfloor storage. And then under the floor there, you've got a steel spare wheel. It is full size, does have a proper tire on it, so you don't have to worry about, you know, if you're doing a lot of touring and you're well out of town, you don't have to worry about putting a space saver on there and then slowly going 80 kilometers an hour back into town. You can just use that as a normal rim pretty much. All right, we'll go for a quick drive and see how it goes. Power adjustable seats for the driver. And yeah, the first thing you'll notice is just that perched up high riding position, which is going to appeal to families and so on that want that sort of confidence boosting stance. Good visibility, as I said. It's just out the back window. It's a little bit tight, especially if you've got the third row up and the headrest popped up as well. But you do have nice tall windows, so you can see over very easily. And the cabin, as I said, is perched up a bit, so it doesn't feel like you're in a claustrophobic little letterbox or anything like that. This is a definite upright, tall and vertical style of SUV. The gauge cluster is nice and clear. You've got different options for display, including your range and all of that. Live tire pressure monitoring or tire pressure gauge. And all your servicing details. You can toggle through the different options as well, such as calling, safety, lane keep assist and all that sort of stuff. And then back to your vehicle settings. There are 3 models on sale in Australia, including the base mode model, which is rear wheel drive. Then you've got the executive rear wheel drive, and then this top spec executive 4-wheel drive. Prices start from around 43,000 or just over 43,000 drive away. And then 51,000 for this top spec model drive away. If you're an ABN holder, you actually get around $3,000 off all of the prices as well. I like the way you can just pull down this top tab and you've got some of your main options here, including turning the lane keep assist off if you want to, and some of the other settings like your volume and even the brightness of the screens, which is handy. Sometimes you've got to dive right into screens just to adjust the brightness of the screen. So it is good to just have that drop down tab always accessible. On first impressions, the steering and the handling feel a bit nicer than before. It's not as kind of floaty, and the steering especially, it doesn't feel so firm. Before it was vague and a little bit firm, whereas now it's just got a pretty nice setting. The speed alert system is definitely pretty over the top. You only need to go over it by 1 kilometer an hour, or even if you approach, just hit 60 exactly. It's a 60 speed zone. You hit 60 exactly, it'll go off, which I think is a bit over the top. You can turn most of this stuff off anyway. Yeah, but yeah, it doesn't feel too bad. The gearbox does seem to be hunting around a little bit, like the previous model, going up this steep hill. It's kind of kicking back and then jumping forward and then kicking back again. Yeah, you only need to push the throttle a little bit and it will prompt a kick down. Actually jumped down 2 gears then, so straight away then it just went over 61 and it's telling me to slow down, so that is a little bit annoying. Like most new vehicles, they've got over-the-top safety systems in my opinion. Whether they're actually going to save lives or not is, you know, another matter, because they're just so over the top you end up turning them off anyway. But yeah, the engine does seem very refined and quiet. I can hear a turbo whistling in the background, which is cool. Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel as boaty as before. Like it definitely is a high riding, rugged style SUV, but it's not floating around like it used to. We'll get out onto the open road in a minute and I'll give it some, and we'll also do a 0 to 100 test. See, straight away then, I just hit 60 and it's going off. So does that mean I've got to drive around at 59 everywhere, in this speed zone anyway, like 1 kilometer under the limit? If you go into the settings button here, you've got all of your safety systems as well. So you can turn all this stuff off if you want to, including the overspeed warning. One of the biggest attractions to this is obviously the starting price. You do get a lot of vehicle for your money if you stack it up against most of the rivals. And I think this is definitely much improved over the previous model. Even the build quality in here seems really nice. Got like a leather style trim across the dash, soft touch, rubbery dashboard as well. All of the center console has even got sort of leathery style trim, and it just feels soft and together. It doesn't feel rattly and old or scratchy. Even up there you've got like a leather style of trim. Down below, I mean, this is the top spec model, so you are getting all the bells and whistles, but again, for the price, I think it's pretty good. All right, we'll just try the kick down here. I'll slow down a little bit. Full throttle. Yeah, it goes pretty good. It's got, seems like a peaky, you know, sort of top end. It does like to rev, and with more torque than before, 410 Newton meters, that's going to help if you're towing, especially, because that torque is the stuff that pushes you along, whereas power is mainly good for overtaking and sort of higher speed driving. All right, let's do a 0 to 100 test now and see what it goes like. You can check out the full review on the website for more details as well.